Welcome, everyone, back. Episode number 2 of the Toxic Masculinity podcast.
Today, get this far.
Honestly, thank you for interrupting me. You have now ruined my entire rhythm. Thank you so much.
Introduce our guest.
So today, our special guest, our first guest in the history of the podcast, James Dillard. James, how does it feel to be the first guest?
You know, it feels great. Thank you guys for having me on. I'm ready to share my opinions.
Sorry if James lags. His internet
it's
is
perfectly
bad.
fine. This is raw. This is real things. In quarantine times, not everyone can afford perfect internet. James, how has your quarantine been?
My quarantine's been good.
All right. Well, it's good. Have you picked up any new hobbies? Trying to keep yourself busy?
I've been playing a lot of Xbox. I've been reading.
Really? What have you read?
I read some books, some philosophy books.
Oh wow, really? Eastern or Western?
Western. Yeah. I watched Lil Dicky's new show.
I see. I don't have Hulu. I've been dying to see Lil Dicky's, like, my favorite person.
It looks a little weird.
It looks perfect,
Right. So,
Matthew.
I mean, I'm on
Oh boy.
Oh my
my ex-girlfriend. And
what just happened?
I'm sure I could share the info with you.
We'll edit that out.
Okay. Well, okay. So today's episode is going to be based off of conspiracy theories. Matthew, Clark, and myself, and I believe James as well, has their own conspiracy theory. I have my notes right here. Would anyone like to start with their conspiracy theory? Clark?
Okay.
I would. Yes,
I'll
I
go
would.
Very
Clark.
emphatic hand up. So, Clark, what is your conspiracy theory?
Well, it's a two-part one. It's about Tupac, and it's whether who killed him, if he is dead, and if he's not dead, where is he?
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, please enlighten us. And I would also like to point out that this is being filmed on the night of the first round of the NFL draft. You can tell by my Buccaneers jersey and Clark's uglier NFL jersey of the Seahawks.
Clark, why do you got so many tabs? Holy crap.
Shush, it's none of your business,
and Clark's also looking for a new iPhone. He came completely unprepared. He couldn't even get on the right
Oh my
tab.
God.
Clark. I think it's the one titled Tupac.
Yeah, it's called Tupac.
Shush.
Oh, and he even made a slideshow.
Yes, I did. Okay.
Let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the evidence.
Whoa.
Okay. Tupac.
Yes.
Very pixely.
Dead?
I would personally, if I don't know if we're allowed to chime in, I would say yes.
Yeah, I would also say yes.
I think, isn't he reincarnated through NBA Youngboy?
Oh,
no,
that's bold.
No, definitely not.
Maybe
I
would
say
maybe
this.
No.
I do have a great story. This is the one thing I do know about Tupac's death. We'll see what Clark has to say about that. But when he was shot, because he was shot pretty much in the street on like a drive-by, and the police came because, you know, the shots were fired. Police were called. They show up on the scene, and Tupac is lying on the ground, gunshot wounds and all. And the police officer was like, can you tell us who shot you? And he looks up at the police officer and he just says plainly, "Fuck you." And that was like his dying words.
Was that some kind of statement?
That was the police officers publicly came out, and because they were like, "Well, you're the first responder to Tupac. Like, what was it?" And he was like, I asked him, I was like, "You're going to be the only one that's going to be able to tell us who this was. Did you know who did it?" And he just looked up at the police officer and calmly said, "Fuck you." And then the police officer, I'm pretty sure, says he believes that then he dies soon thereafter. So those would have been his dying words.
Okay. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. All right.
All right. Wow,
Is that it?
is that what she sees?
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Let's
A
go. Let's
picture
go.
of Tupac pulling up his shirt just appeared on screen.
If not dead, where
Wait,
is
so is this like? Do you have a theory
Cuba?
about like
Cuba? Maybe could he be in
Okay.
Cuba?
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 I feel like
Okay. Is there anything that points him in Cuba?
I feel like you're saying this.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes,
you're
there are a
talking as
couple
if
of things.
this
I
is
will.
your
I'll
theory.
bring up. If
Okay.
dead, who killed him?
Do you have any facts?
Was it Obama?
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb.
I don't think it.
I don't know a bunch about Tupac,
Okay, let's look at
but
the evidence.
Okay, here
okay,
comes the
or cut
evidence.
me off.
Oh,
James,
All right.
are you okay, James? It appears that your video and your microphone have both turned off.
did we already lose our guest?
James, are you there?
This is the evidence.
James, can you hear me, James? Can you unmute yourself?
We'll cut this out.
Here, wait. Let's make sure that James can come back, so that like when he comes back, we can edit it. Oh, there we go.
There we
He's back. Okay,
go.
perfect. You came back just in time for the evidence that Clark is going to present us.
Okay, go on, Clark.
All right. There's one guy that believes Tupac is alive in New Mexico, and he's gonna make a movie about it. And
Wow.
he was, yeah.
Is that it?
That's just one sighting. There are multiple sightings. Hold on. And then there's another one where apparently he's alive in Africa, and they've seen a new photo of him, and he was in Somalia, I believe. And then the final one was hold on.
So are these people saying we saw someone that looks like Tupac, or are these people saying this dude came up to us kind of looking like Tupac saying he was Tupac? Because like
No. These people think, look, one's like Tupac is alive, and the bodyguard smuggled him there.
Oh, okay.
That's how he knows.
What if these people just want to get on the news?
But it was the bodyguard himself. Cause he,
Okay.
but
That's
no, but
definitely
with
interesting.
no, but with Suge, after he signed to death row, he was talking to Suge like the week before he got killed. He was talking to Suge about faking his death. Legitimately.
Is there a reason why he was talking about faking his own death?
How old would he be?
Right today?
Like if he was still alive, how old would he be?
I think 40s. 40s? No, 30s, I think. No, late 40s. All right. But yeah, he was talking to Suge about faking his death. Like the week before he got shot. So that's a bit suspect. Yeah. So and then
is there any more evidence?
People also, if he did get killed, people know who killed him, but they won't snitch on the dude. So he's never going to get found out.
That's kind of dumb.
Once again, goes back to the story. He had the chance to out him, and
I guess, yeah.
He didn't want to do it.
He could have done it, but there's just a stigma that they're not going to snitch on other people.
So does that conclude the evidence and the?
Yeah, I don't know. I would really think that he's dead, but the fact that he spoke about faking his own death with Suge the week before sets me off a bit, especially that people are reportedly seeing him.
So, Clark, this is hard to say because all of this evidence it's not damning by any means. But
no.
If you had to take a stance, if you had to say he's alive in Cuba or he is dead and these people are just trying to get in the news,
or he's in New Mexico or Africa.
That's the thing, because first of all, if he's alive, I would say that with the bodyguard saying he helped smuggle him, I would say that's probably a more reliable source than just some dude in New Mexico trying to make a movie. Or just because that Africa, honestly, the guy from Africa just looked like a dark-skinned, emaciated person who was sort of looking like Tupac. So I would say probably Cuba's the more likely if he's still alive, but I would say that he is. Personally, I believe that he is dead.
I agree with Butch.
James, what are your thoughts?
I think he's been reincarnated.
As NBA YoungBoy, as you said earlier.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's James's stance.
Definitely an interesting stance, not one covered here. But definitely interesting. Not, well, possibly impossible. I'll say that.
He's also releasing an album tonight.
Tupac?
Really?
Wow.
No,
That's
NBA
crazy.
YoungBoy.
All right. Well,
Well, you just got
Alright.
James, you're trying to
so
make
is there anyone? So Matthew, would you like to share your conspiracy theory next?
I would love to. Let me
Perfect.
prepare this. Is that working? Do you just see the
You see a
screen?
globe and conspiracy theories by Matthew.
Okay. Here we go. What are conspiracy theories? Well,
This
Google
is boring.
as a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event.
So far, you got an A+, Matthew.
I wanted to go first just to like set the background, but
You should have
No one-
spoken
Oh,
up.
you should have raised your hand.
why do
faster.
people believe in
But
conspiracy
why?
theories?
Okay.
Well,
Maddie, this is
some
unnecessary.
psychologists agree that people believe in conspiracy theories due to the desire for control and security, and for them to maintain a positive.
Of my new empire.
Okay, well,
So it's almost like a cultish thing. It's like if I come up with a conspiracy theory, enough people believe it.
yeah, they kind of want to be
Be
like
like,
part of a group.
okay. So yeah.
So here's my first one. We got the Denver airport.
The Denver airport.
Now, there are some photos.
Wow.
Starting off, there's tents on the top of it, and even right here, there's a picture of an alien that says, yes, Denver's got some secrets. So they're admitting that there's something up with it. And now here's some information.
Did you read what the rest of that says?
No, that isn't.
Okay.
It's too blurry. Here's some information.
I'm gonna say I have been inside the Denver airport. I honestly don't remember.
You don't remember it? Oh.
Well. I don't remember. I remember because my brother lived in Denver for a while. I have a half brother who lived in Denver when he
erased
got
your
out of
mind.
college.
I've also been there.
Yeah, I don't remember it being this
weird
huge thing.
Okay, well, James is lagging. I'm gonna apologize again. Here's some information about the Denver airport. When making it, it went $2 billion over budget when it was completed in 1995.
Do you know what the original budget was?
No, but that's still a lot of money over budget.
That's a whole lot of money.
This is some interesting facts. It holds a time capsule that's set to open in 2094. So I'll probably be dead. They spent $200 million on an automated baggage system, and they had it for a couple of years, and it never worked. And they had it for 5 or something years. It didn't work right at all, and then they had to scrap the whole idea. It's twice the size of Manhattan, and it is the second largest airport in the world.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and it's Denver. You think it'd be?
Denver's nice. Denver's nice.
Yeah, but like who?
Yeah,
lives in
not
Denver?
second biggest airport in the world though.
Well, I mean, what else does Denver spend their money on? The Broncos?
Mile High merchandise.
We've probably attracted a lot of
merchandise.
Ears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet a bunch of connecting flights.
This horse statue.
What
is outside the Denver airport, and it's a blue horse statue with red eyes that has been nicknamed Blucifer, and people believe that it represents one of the horsemen of the apocalypse. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Fun fact, the creator of this horse statue, while making it, its head fell off and crushed his legs, and he bled to death and died. So this statue's got a death behind it. So maybe it's possessed with some sort of like spiritual energy for the airport.
But it's not in it. But it's outside the airport.
Like, well, maybe it works as like some sort of a like force field, like it like emits. That's my own theory. Okay, well, let's go to the next slide. Some other
horse
ideas,
statue force field spirit.
Some other ideas about the airport. Is it the headquarters of the Illuminati? Supposedly, the time capsule that was buried was labeled with Freemason symbols, which, as you can see on the right, are very similar to the Illuminati symbol. It was so much, people believe that due to it being so much money over budget, that it was paid for with Illuminati money in exchange for use of the property. And according to the Denver Airport website, rumors say that the first few buildings on the property weren't built properly, but instead of breaking them and like destroying them, they just built over them, and then the bottom part of the airport is the Illuminati's underground lair.
Huh. So you're saying maybe it wasn't built wrong, but instead built as a cover-up.
Yes, literally, like they're covering up the headquarters. It also has underground tunnels that people believe connects to the lair, and or has bunkers under it. Now this is where it gets a little weird. This is some of the artwork in the airport.
Jesus.
And as you can see, I guess if you're listening, you can't see, but this one has a lady holding a box of what looks like, it's like a penguin or puffin or something.
It's burning down.
Yeah, it looks like there's this lady and some families at the zoo, and the forest behind them is burning down. And there's a turtle trapped in a net, like dying. And then maybe it's a prediction for the future. I don't know.
Maybe it's just a climate change thing.
Oh, it got paused. Okay. And then on the right here, I don't even know what's happening. This guy looks like he's a Nazi stabbing a bird. And there's some people.
You know, I think I have an exclamation. I think I have an explanation for the painting on the left. Now I'm not an art expert. This is what I've seen. This is what I see. I see, if you look, the only things on fire are trees, and it looks like the people are trying to save the animals. But if you look in the background, it looks like a city is perfectly fine. So maybe it's just a message of, like, we should be preserving our natural wildlife and not focusing on the city. Maybe that's what it is. But even then, that'd be weird to put in an airport metropolis of an airport that you have built that went $2 billion over budget.
How many
The one on the right, I have no
down
explanation. It looks like a Nazi is killing children. I have no idea what that could mean.
It's a Nazi stabbing a dove, which usually represents peace. So maybe
it looks like he's about to slash down on those children.
Maybe it's like a Denver's like threat of war. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
So here's the next slide.
What?
Denver equals evil. Maybe the evidence points towards it. There's all this like demonic pictures, the demonic horse, Illuminati. Something's up with Denver. I don't know what, but those are some.
You know, a city I like much more than Denver is Boulder, in which it has the Jolly Rancher headquarters.
Fun fact.
Make a great point there, Butch.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say for all of you looking to move to Denver, don't move to Boulder, and stay away from the airport. That
Denver Airport
is haunted by a horse statue spirit force field.
Okay, that was one of mine. I got the next one.
Oh,
We got the moon.
oh, Jesus Christ.
Now, some people believe the moon landing was faked. We landed on the moon. Or did we? That's what people believe this was faked. Next slide. It's I'm just repeating myself kind of. This slide's more, it just says some people believe otherwise. Oh, like Steph Curry.
Oh, look at Curry, man.
Just look at him.
God,
Steph
what an
Curry believed
inspiration.
the moon landing was faked.
So
You know
inspirational.
who else believes the
man.
moon landing was faked?
Frank Ocean.
Whoopi Goldberg and Frank Ocean believe
Wow.
the moon landing was fake.
But look at Curry, man.
Just look at him.
Curry, man.
I mean, some of the brightest people of this generation believe the moon landing is fake, as evident here.
Clearly. With Curry, man.
Well, why do they believe this? Well, after the moon landing on July 20th, 1969, many people have speculated that it was fake. And these people want to prove that NASA never went to the moon, and they believe that it was filmed in a studio, and they had a bunch of fake moon landings with like props and stuff. And they believe that the U.S. faked the moon landing because this was during time of the Cold War, and so the U.S. may not have had enough money to complete like the project of getting to the moon. So theorists believe that faking this landing would have been much cheaper than actually going to the moon. But if they made it convincing enough, they could prove to Russia that the United States had better technology. So that's why they think the U.S. did this. Oh,
It even spins both ways.
Their evidence? Okay, now, the first thing that people believe, the first reason I think this is fake, is if you look at this image on the right of taken during the moon landing, there aren't any stars in the background. They think that's kind of suspicious, but this has been shot down because due to the nature of the photography, the light from the sun hitting the moon would be too bright for a camera to capture the stars in the distance. So that's the reason why there aren't any stars. But people that believe the moon landing is fake just don't really count that as evidence. On the left here, we have this picture of a rock that was caught on film that has a C on it, supposedly. Oh, I went backwards. And this C, people think it's left over from the props department. But NASA said it was a glitch in the system, or someone could have just like added it in Photoshop later or something. I guess if this was a long time ago, probably not Photoshop. Next, they also believe, due to the shadow links on the moon, they think that's due to lights, like due to a faulty lighting system or something, and it's not how it would actually work. But our scientists say that the photos were taken on rough hills. So if like no matter where you stand, it's just gonna be like a weird effect of the shadows. And then lastly, when the flag was planted in the moon, the flag appeared to move in the wind. But as we know, there's no atmosphere like in space. So why would it blow? Well, apparently scientists designed it specifically for the moon's surface with like wiring and stuff. It is weird. They designed it like with weird material so it would act like it was moving like a normal flag on Earth. And so that was kind of disproven by scientists. But then here's my favorite belief about the moon landing. This is the director for The Shining and 2001: A Space Odyssey. And in 1968, he did like a realistic like vision of space, I guess, in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And some people believed that it was so convincing that the government got hold of him to recreate him landing on the moon for the U.S., I guess. Yeah. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Wow.
Overall, I do think it's true. He did, in fact, turn himself into a pickle. Pickle Rick, the end.
Wow. So, okay. So if we just go through here, Clark and James, do you have any thoughts about both the Denver airport and the moon landing? Do you think it's demonic airport, fake moon landing? Where do you guys stand?
You know, if Whoopi Goldberg doesn't believe the moon landing is real, then I should too.
Interesting.
People
Clark?
also think that celebrities are doing it just for attention, to get on the news.
But look at Curry, man.
But Whoopi Goldberg does not need to get on the news.
Well, James lagged a bit. Okay. I guess not, but I don't know.
Clark?
I would say that the Denver airport, I think the Illuminati is under the Denver airport.
I think that's more likely than the moon landing
But-
being faked.
But I don't think the moon landing happened.
You don't?
Wait, no.
So you believe it's fake?
No. I think it was
so
real.
it's real. Okay.
Real.
Okay.
So you believe it did happen.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
So, James, we'll save your conspiracy theory for last, unless you do want to go really badly. Are you okay with going last?
I'm okay with going last.
Okay, perfect. So
Okay.
I don't have a slideshow. This is mainly just me talking. So, sorry, I might pull up a picture here. I'll pull up a picture of the map that he uses. 1 second. So some backstory for this is called the Missing Colony of Roanoke Island.
I've heard about this.
Yes. So with Roanoke Island, in August 1587, 116 settlers, English settlers, settle outside of, just on the outside coast and shore of North Carolina at a place called Roanoke Island. And the governor of the colony, John, and just for some more backstory, they had expeditions near this area with the same man, John White, and he made a very famous map called, what was it again? It was called, if I can find it in my notes.
So unprofessional.
Called, oh, sorry, I did not make a slideshow. I'll find it. I'll find when we get to the theories, because this is kind of like the historical background, and then we get into the different
This is like the
conspiracy
context.
theories about.
And then we're
what
to get to like
happened.
thesis, and then like.
So, John White, the governor of the colony, they need more supplies there, and also they had an attack. They were attacked by Native American tribes multiple times within the first month. So that is important to remember. And so they need more supplies, the settlers do of Roanoke. So John White, the governor, goes back to England to get more supplies. Well, wouldn't you know, when he goes back, England gets into a pretty much naval war with Spain. And so England's shut down all of their ships to go towards fighting this naval war with Spain. So John White has to wait 3 years until he can go back to Roanoke Island. And when he gets back, 115 settlers that were there, completely gone. No evidence of bodies, no evidence of mass graves, and only one thing carved into a wooden post, and it said Croatoan. And so there is a Croatoan Indian tribe about 50 miles south at Croatoan Island. It's not named Croatoan Island anymore. I think it's Horatius Island. But so some of the possibilities, just looking at it from a logical standpoint, the Croatoan Indian tribe could have come and killed all the settlers, but then begs the question, no bodies, no mass graves in either the Croatoan area or the Roanoke area. So murder seems to be almost out of the question. So, but then you go into the Spanish could have arrived in their march up from Florida and they could have found them, or they could have just gotten lost at sea trying to go back to England themselves. So that's kind of the logical ones. But when you start going in more and more, you start to see how there might be some other stuff at play. So we're going to walk through
Supernatural
a
stuff?
few theories, possibly.
Oh, baby.
So, and this gets into this gets into some national treasure type of crazy stuff here. So the map I was trying to figure out, La Virginia Pars is what it's called. So I'll pull up this map real quick
Okay.
for you guys to see. This is a map made by John Smith himself
Oh,
in
this
one
goes
of his
way back.
expeditions. Let's see here. I'm trying to get a good picture of it. Let's see here. All right, that's good. So I'll share my screen so that you all can see it.
Oh, here we
So
go.
there is the map. And so it's actually like quite accurate. I don't think that's the best picture of it. Oh,
It's good enough, I guess.
yeah, let me try to find, oh my Jesus. I think this might be, okay, here we go. Oh, come on.
So what is this like?
Come on.
Where off the coast is this located?
So this is like, here, so it's fairly accurate to this map, if it'll ever pull up. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that this is Roanoke right here.
Okay.
And so somewhere down in, I believe, this area is Croatoan, with the Croatoan Indian tribe. What is that?
Get out of here.
So there's that. And then the map becomes very important here in a second. But for now, back to possible theories. So, like I said, no bodies, no mass graves, but there was a friendly Indian leader named Mateo, who led a nearby, or he was a member of a nearby Indian tribe. It was actually the Croatoan Indian tribe, and he would come up and visit when John Smith was either excavating the land or when they settled there. There were new settlers, he came up and visited, and John Smith liked him so much that he personally proclaimed Mateo as the Roanoke Indian leader, the Indian tribe leader. However, he can't do that because Mateo had no business in the Roanoke area, had no business with their tribes, not a member of their tribes. So that meant nothing. But that's how much John Smith liked him. So it's possible that they could have tried to go and see Mateo, or Mateo could have come back looking for John Smith, and he could have taken them and actually involved them in the Croatoan Indian tribe. So this is interesting because you have, in 2015, archaeologists found pieces of English goods and English technologies that were in the area that would not have been available to Native Americans at the time. For example, there was a gold coin, multiple gold coins found that linked back to the 1500s, the 16th century, that in England. You also had these aglets, which were used for just different things, in like copper aglets that just like Native Americans would not have had these things. You had different like lead pencils. You had just like, there's no way that they would have had that technology at that time. But of course, when you're talking late 1500s to 2015, like there's a huge gap in between there.
Yeah,
so they're not
pretty
exactly
recent.
certain, when it was, but they were the same Indian tribe areas. So there's that. And so another theory is that instead of getting lost at sea or going to join an Indian tribe, they actually went inland. And so this is when it gets interesting, because on the map, I don't think you can see it from this picture, but on the map, there's a patch. And it was popular back in those times when you made a mistake or the map got damaged that you were drawing, you would just cover it up with a patch. However, they found a patch. This was also near 2015. I don't remember the exact year. They found this patch on the map. And when they removed this patch on the map, they found this 4 pronged star that was outlined in blue ink. And even on the patch itself, there was almost like an invisible ink kind of deal where under certain infrared lighting, you could see outlines of markings of another star on top of this patch. So people believe that this could have been a signal for either a sort of fort or fortification, or for some kind of, area that could also be settled. But this takes us into a theory of aliens. Why aliens? Aliens first would explain how there's no clues besides the Croatoan on the wooden post. You would think that if people were leaving, they would leave more than just the word Croatoan. And especially if they were moving inland, they wouldn't draw off there. And also, I kind of find it hard to believe that they would move inland just by themselves, because if they're waiting for John Smith on the shore of this island, how would he know, especially if you only left Croatoan? He left.
Who?
You have a question?
Who do they think left Croatoan? Aliens? Because how would the aliens know the name of another tribe? Unless they're blending in as us.
But that's so my personal belief on this is that, like I said, this is just one explanation. If you're going for aliens,
James, can you fix your audio? Oh, is that better?
So if you're going to explain the
oh my God, James, please.
Is it me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, he muted himself. Continue.
So if you're going to try to explain aliens, here's what I believe. With the friendly connection to Mateo, when they left to move inland, they left that marking to signify that that could now be used as Croatoan land. That would be my only guess. But even then, they didn't leave anything for John Smith. John Smith actually attempted to go and search at Croatoan Island for, the settlers, because his wife was there, his daughter was there. And his granddaughter was the first baby born of English parents in the Americas. So this was he had built a family, and like I said, 115 settlers were there when he left. So this is not like a whole, a couple buddies, I lost a couple friends last night, I don't know where they are. This is 115 people that are just lost. So the aliens would explain why there's no clues left behind if they're trying to keep it secret within the 115 people, with the star that they hid on with the patch that John Smith hid in the patch. It explains the no bodies. They wouldn't have bodies. And people believe that the marking could have marked an alien ship, maybe some kind of, extraterrestrial experience that John Smith had, and maybe he explained it to the people. But then again, why would he tell them if he's hiding it in the map that he made? So there's still a lot of questions there. I don't think that aliens does not explain the artifacts found within, the different places that they were. It doesn't explain how those artifacts got to Croatoa. It doesn't explain how that many artifacts were found by the star. There's signs that they could have potentially stayed there for a decent amount of time. But once again, there's no bodies, there's no clues. which brings to the last theory, and it is possible cannibalism. Now, a Harvard archaeologist, I forgot the name. I forgot to write down the name, but a Harvard archaeologist said that there is possible evidence in the soil of Roanoke for like cannibalistic remains. So they didn't find any bones, but it would explain the no bodies. It would be, I guess, if you wanted to dumb it down a little bit, it would be much harder to find individual bones than it would whole bodies.
Yeah.
So there was also some other factors. If there was a disease within that group, it would be isolated pretty well, so it wouldn't get out, it wouldn't leak out of that island. So maybe there was a disease going around, they ran out of food and people were going crazy. There was also one of the biggest droughts that Roanoke had and really has ever had in that area of North Carolina. It is, that went through a very bad drought at the time. So there are definitely points where people could have gone crazy, but it's hard to think that some kind of Lord of the Flies stuff would go down between 115 settlers, and I believe 87 of them were grown men. So, and only like 11 were children. So most of these people there were hopefully well-minded individuals. And I don't personally know if I believe that cannibalism is the answer. So are there any questions there about any of the possible theories?
I feel like aliens is definitely the worst one because there's a bunch of holes in that theory. But I feel like the cannibalism one, or the fact that maybe they went inland and died and then something happened to their bodies, I feel like that's very possible.
I personally, if you're asking for my personal opinion on what I think happened, I think that the settlers were partially ambushed by the Croatoan Indians, and I feel that some were murdered, but some were also taken to be assimilated with the tribe. That would explain the Croatoan. It would explain the no bodies, because then it's not 115 bodies, but maybe they only had to kill like 10 people before the rest of them were like, okay, we'll go be a part of the tribe. And then maybe they dump it in the ocean or something. But I would feel like that is the most, I feel like cannibalism, like I believe in aliens. I wouldn't say it's a likely story, but I would say I probably like that more than cannibalism, just because I feel like even with cannibalism, John Smith was in Roanoke. Only like this would probably be a couple years or a year after this had happened.
Well, that can happen.
I feel like he would have seen at
though.
least some body remains of the area, like in the area. I mean, he searched all throughout the area, but the thing is, he never got to Croatoan Island, because the 2 times he tried to sail, it was a privately owned ship. It wasn't his ship. So he had to request every time he wanted to go search at Croatoan Island. So he only got his request approved twice, and both times he had to turn back because of really bad storms. So he never actually searched Croatoan Island. So that could explain maybe some people got, just assimilated into that culture, and there are no real dead bodies. Shows how the artifacts got there, and they just became a part of the Croatoan Indian tribe.
That's very possible.
Clark, what do you think happened, Clark?
I think the cannibal one is the most likely.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's just there's so much that's just left like unknown.
Yeah, I mean, this is 1587. This is not like forensic science. Pretty much the way that they could look for bones, and I'm pretty sure it was John Smith, and if anyone else, just a small number of people that he went with first. back to Roanoke, and really probably they're looking around would be like some hand binoculars and like just turning around a couple times, maybe finding a hill and looking out, and there was a bunch of forest. So, but I mean, even to this day, there's no evidence of mass graves or tons of bodies being dumped in the area. So, the Harvard archaeologist said that there's possible, like it's possible that there are like cannibalistic remains of humans, but I feel like personally, I don't know if it would happen that way. I don't know that. Obviously, if they're running out of food, the last resort would be cannibalism, but I don't know if they would have gone through with it to the point where the bodies were so decimated, so eaten at, and also so well disposed that like this doesn't seem like a crazed attack of like cannibals. This seems like almost it seems almost planned with how little people have been able to find. James, do you have any opinions on that?
I think it could have been a mix of things.
Such as?
I don't know, disease, other tribes going in. I mean,
and it's quite possible that the settlers couldn't decide on one option. So maybe some went to join Indian tribes, maybe some stayed and died, and maybe some went inland, and that's how artifacts got spread. That's how, maybe there's not a ton of remains.
They thought that the island was uninhabitable, and they all left.
What?
Well,
they were on the
there's
island.
definite evidence because this was before Jamestown.
Yes.
So this was like the first, and like I said, the first American-born child of English parents. So this is like new. But there were also the only problem that you can see with the Croatoan attack, even though they had the friendly Mateo on their side, they had been attacked multiple times. And when they tried to settle that area previously, before John Smith was the governor, and I forgot who the governor was, but he was very much against dealing with Native Americans, very much against the Croatoan Indian tribes and the other Indian tribes closer to Roanoke Island. So, and they were attacked multiple times then, and like I said, attacked multiple times within the first month of being at Roanoke Island completely settled. So it's kind of hard to believe that like maybe they assimilated so easily, but it's like I said, it's been completely unsolved since 1587. So depending on what you believe in, aliens, or there were some that I left out. There's a bunch of theories on this, but others believe that like they got involved with witchcraft, they sold their souls to the devil, they tried to assimilate with the Indian tribes, but then they killed them because they believed they were witches. Like there's some stuff like that, but I was just like, that's a little out there.
Speaking of out there.
Oh, there's actually, this is the craziest. There's a theory that they all became trees. I believe that. No other evidence.
I mean,
there's just a big forest.
I believe
and there was
that,
like maybe their bodies were buried in a mass grave by the Indians, and they used their mystic powers, sprinkled the magic dust, and they became trees. And I feel like that was like kind of racist that like Native Americans would just be able to like do like some kind of dance over their bodies and it would be like trees. But so that's why I left a lot of it out of the realm of possibility. I feel like all those are at least somewhat in the realm of possibility, and all the other ones are just nonsense.
Okay, speaking of out there, is what I wanted to say earlier was let's hear what James has to say about the month of April, if it's not too loud and screechy.
Okay.
All right, James. Here we go.
So April 15th is the first day of a 13-day satanic ritual relating to the fire god, Baal, also known as the Roman god Saturn. This day is a major human sacrifice day, demanding fire sacrifice with an emphasis on children. This day is one of the most important human sacrifice days, and as such as there's many historic events that have occurred within this 13-day span. Most notably, on April 19th, 1975, the Battle of Lexington. On April 19th, 1943, after the last Jewish resistance fighters in a storm drain in Warsaw were holding out for several days, Nazi stormtroopers began to pour fire in each end of the storm drain using flamethrowers. They continued pouring the fire into the drain until all fighters were dead. Blood sacrifice brought about
okay, dark turn. What?
Conjugation.
I thought this was like the month
I
of
thought
April.
cannibalism was bad.
Listen.
Oh my God.
Again, on April 19th, 50 days later after this, or 50 years later, to the day, government troops, tanks, and other military equipment stormed the compound of cult leader David Koresh and his followers in Waco, Texas. And what they found fulfilled the basic requirements for human sacrifice, fire, trauma, and young children being sacrificed.
What did the Nazi stuff have to do with Texas?
Well, I don't know. It just happened 50 years later.
But like, is this all? Is it
And
like?
I'll keep going.
Okay.
I'm just gonna dodge your question. Okay. On April 19th, 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing happened. Other notable events include the Lincoln assassination on April 15th, the San Francisco earthquake, the Ludlow massacre on April 20th, 1914, the Hillsborough disaster, April 15th, 1989, the sinking of the Titanic on April 15th, 1912.
This just sounds like a theory that like someone's arguing that April's the worst month.
Also, on most recently, April 15th, 2019, the Notre Dame Cathedral fire happened.
Oh!
Now, the
Also,
argument
Corona.
is that, there's a lot of conspiracies surrounding, because, it looks like we're seeing a peak in the coronavirus right now through this 13-day span. But the conspiracy behind this is that April is the government's blood sacrifice season. And during this month, the government performs sacrifices to the demon god.
Holy crap.
And one thing that most of these all have in common is that they all...
One thing they all have in fire is common.
They're all related to fire. Explosions, and most of them involve children dying.
You mentioned an earthquake and the Kennedy assassination, I thought.
Lincoln assassination.
Yeah, that doesn't...
Do you listen, Matthew?
No.
Wait. No, James has got a point.
And weirdly enough,
finish.
This period of sacrifice is used throughout many different civilizations. Like, they would celebrate this time of year and purposely sacrifice children by lighting them on fire.
Oh my God.
And so they think that the government is continuing these civilizations, customs and traditions in order to please the fire god.
Holy crap.
Okay.
Interesting theory.
Is that all?
That's all. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I have two points. First, some of those things kind of reach outside of the United States. So I would say it's kind of like one of those things was like a Nazi. Like, I don't think the United States was in favor of the Nazis burning children in the storm drain. But the second thing is, I would say with the American government and politics in general, you see a lot of Christian themes being Jesus Christ, my fan. And now it's like pitch black in here. Whew. But I would say you see a lot of Christian themes in politics and in government today. So I would say that it would be hard for the government
to get away with
to
sacrifice.
have so many leaders continuously throughout history want to continue this satanic tradition when you have a thick history of so many presidents and so many government leaders being devout Christians and having like Christian ideals.
Why would they sacrifice? James, fix your audio. Why would they sacrifice the president?
To please the fire god. Don't you understand?
But why the president?
I don't know. There's also conspiracies that the Catholic Church is behind all this and is doing this to the United States.
What?
I don't know why they would burn down their own
Yeah,
church,
that'd be weird if they burned down Notre Dame.
but maybe
I would say I can't say it's nothing.
is it not
Because-
weird that all these tragedies have happened
I
in
think
this?
it's just a coincidence that like all
But
throughout
I also feel like
'Cause I
there's
feel like
so
you
many
just-
tragedies
it's
that
kinda
have
weird.
happened.
there's so much
where it's
history
like-
that like
They're all
in
linked
each
together
month
by
there's been
fire.
If I had to pick a stance, like, because
a lot of tragedies have to do with like death, and that relates to like fire.
I would
guns, or
say
something.
that personally, like I've been trying to find a position
Oh,
in each of these
also-
conspiracy theories. Oh, you can go ahead.
The Columbine shooting happened during this time.
Okay.
I would say that
it's a 13-day stretch throughout history where a bunch of crap happens.
I mean,
so it
but
is a bit-
you could find a lot of 13-day stretches in history that
Yeah.
have had a bunch of horrible things happen. But I'm not saying it's nothing. What I'm saying is, if I had to jump on one of the two bandwagons, saying that it is or it isn't, I would say just with the list of occurrences isn't enough. If one of the dudes that was like if the dude that was killing Lincoln was like interrupted the plane, like, oh, I'm killing him for the fire god and the government put me up to it, bang. Like, then I'd be like, wow, this guy might be onto something here. But since it was just like, as far as I know, he didn't worship a fire god and
I think there was like
wasn't hired by the
reasons
government.
behind the killings.
Jeez, it just started pouring buckets outside. Goodness gracious.
On that note, let's move to James's second theory.
Okay, so my second theory is that pigeons are government spies.
Mhm.
Okay. Wait,
So,
okay.
there
what
is
are your
no
views on carrier pigeons?
There is no such thing as a baby pigeon. Have any of you ever seen a baby pigeon?
Here's a point.
I've seen smaller pigeons.
I don't
And
really
think
know
about it.
I've
Where
seen
do
smaller.
pigeons?
I don't know what a baby pigeon
Where do you
looks
mainly
like.
see pigeons?
New York.
in New York.
And
Major
they're fully
city.
grown.
I mean, I didn't see any pigeons like in Los Angeles.
I think there are pigeons in Chicago.
I feel like most pigeons. I'd
Here
say
are some
most
baby
pigeons
pigeons.
are in colder environments. So like Chicago, New York, those are both northern. I haven't seen any pigeons in Tennessee. I went to Los Angeles. I didn't see any. I've been to Pasadena multiple times. I haven't seen any pigeons out there. In Florida, I don't think pigeons ever go down to Florida.
I guess in James's
Um,
theory is they don't need them there.
Right.
So,
So, there's a large community that believes pigeons are robots.
but so if the government's using them as spies,
Couldn't you?
wouldn't it just be easier to make the technology within the cities spies and then put pigeons in like
Can't you just have little
lesser
cameras
environments?
everywhere? Also, you can kill pigeons and see that they have blood in them. That's kind of mean, but it's probably happened. Pigeons die, and there's baby pigeons. I just showed some pictures of them.
But have you ever seen a baby pigeon?
Yes.
I've seen smaller versions of pigeons. I haven't had the wherewithal to be like, that is
There's a lot of
baby
things I
pigeon.
haven't seen.
That
So,
Jesus
that
Christ.
thing is a baby. This is a baby pigeon.
And I would also say that if you're out in public in a highly, like, if you're like out on Times Square, a baby pigeon probably isn't going to be like waltzing around. It's probably going to be in a nest or like wherever. I would guess that's where the baby pigeons would be. I don't think the mother pigeons or daddy pigeons would be like, oh, throw them out day one, put them in the gutters.
I think there's also speculation that with the coronavirus, they're putting the batteries in the pigeons right now.
it's a long time to replace the batteries. Holy
No.
crap.
No. He does have a point. Let's be
No,
honest.
he doesn't.
No.
No,
So
no,
the
no.
So
Chinese,
relates. What if the government made the coronavirus to please the fire god while at the same time
No, we're getting too
Reach-
deep. We're getting too deep. We gotta cut it.
Figuratively knocking two
Alright,
birds out with one
so-
stone.
And literally,
So
pigeons.
okay.
And think about it.
Earlier,
This
I said
could
it
link
wasn't
to the
nothing.
Denver airport.
I would say that this
And the moon.
Nothing.
The Denver airport's on the moon. That's where they make baby pigeons.
Okay. It's
stand-
been a great episode of Toxic Masculinity.
The Illuminati
podcast.
considers
I'm
war
going.
to be the best way of sacrifice.
Thank you, everyone who listened. I hope you found some new insights, some new theories, had a fun time. Thank you to James for being the first guest on the podcast. Thank you all for watching this.
We'll make sure the next guest has better internet.
And in the comments section, I want
Oh.
you guys, if you want to comment, if there's anyone watching, comment what the name of our fans should be. Should it be the Toxics? Should it be the TMs? Should it just be like the males? Like masculinists? I don't know what to call the fans. If there are any fans, if there ever will be any fans, I would like to have some kind of name. Like Lil Dicky mentioned before, all of his fans are called dickheads. I am a proud dickhead. So
Wait, what's it called when men spread their legs on like a bus?
The
man
man-spreaders.
spreaders.
The man-spreaders.
Spreaders, that's
I feel
possible.
like that could be
So,
a good name.
either comment on an Instagram post, comment on this video or the first episode,
We
hit us
received
up
some
directly.
hate on how our responses were on the Instagram.
Well, listen, we're trying to be classy. We're trying to show that even though toxic masculinity, it's by definition, it's a thing that exists. It's the expectation of what men should be in society. So it exists. It's an expectation. We're just trying to show that some people can have fun. We don't have to be toxic. This is just us sharing opinions, sharing viewpoints, getting new insights on things. So once again, thank you, James. This was a great episode. We look forward to talking with more people in the future. And thank you, future fan name.
Commenters. Oh.
Commented
Okay.
down below.
Bye.